Welcome to the MrMaple Show, guys. Corbin here, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite trees in the entire world. Now, whenever we say that on this channel, usually we're talking about a cultivar, but guys, today I'm talking about a specific tree that is in Fukushima, Japan, in the town of Miharu. Now, this tree is called Miharu Takizakura. Miharu meaning 3 springs. So there's a folklore that is, talking about this town where in it 3 springs happen, which means there's the blooming of 3 trees that usually don't bloom at the same time. But here, the legend says, there's plums, peaches, and cherry trees all bloom at the same time. Such a beautiful place. You can see Nakata-san up there in the green jacket. He's running ahead. He's super excited. Now, in these little stalls, there is people selling trees. They're selling, cuttings of this tree. They're selling food that's themed after cherries. And they're also serving a hot beverage that they called sweet sake, which kind of reminded me of like a cherry horchata that's hot. So if you're ever in Japan, make sure to check that out. It's very delicious. Kind of like horchata is probably the best thing I can describe it as, but a little sweeter. It's a non-alcoholic beverage. I wasn't drinking this early in the morning, so. But here you can see Nakata-san. He would say, your dream. And it is my dream. I mean, these are trees you sit and think about all day sometimes. And I haven't stopped thinking about them since I got back from Japan. But you can see that tree. It's called Miharu Takizakura. And you can see these cars. There's people that live right next to this tree. And it is absolutely massive. Now, I believe that this tree is in the same category as other trees like Nakakomoto weeping. There's another weeping cherry that's located near this. And they're all protected. They all have people that come and prune on them. And this is one of the greatest experiences of my life. I think Nakata-san was so excited to show me this. And I mean, I was just so excited to see it. I mean, you can see how many people have made this journey just to see the cherry tree. I just love how they have all these yellow plants, kind of contrasting the beautiful pink beacon in the middle. And Miharu Takizakura means tree from Miharu, and Takizakura means like a waterfall cherry tree. And it does. I mean, whenever I was in Japan, I really started to draw a lot of links between water and trees. I mean, obviously we're all made out of water. There's a lot of water in trees. So, as above, so below, the tree mocks water with its branching because it is water. And that's just something I thought was so beautiful. Whenever you get trees this large as well, and I'll bring this up in the Nakakomoto weeping video, but you start to think about the physics of the tree itself, thinking about how far that journey the water has to go from the roots all the way to the tips of the trees. And something that was really cool is Nakata-san, whenever we stopped at his nursery, he showed me a weeping cherry tree that I guess had been staked and kind of pushed up to its maximum height. And what I really thought was interesting, he said it won't grow any taller than that because the water has trouble traveling up. And honestly, this tree was not much taller than that tree that was sitting at Nakata-san's nursery. And I just think it's cool. This might as well be like a living dinosaur, where you have these like brontosauruses and these things where they could only hit a certain height because of the oxygen and the atmosphere and how gravity affects them. And looking at these trees, I mean, it just rings so true to that same effect. And I think that's something that's so cool, because it really puts a lot of things in perspective for you whenever you're growing plants and whenever you're observing them and kind of enjoying them. That little baby's so funny. Got to get some pictures for the Instagram. And yeah, it's young, old. There are so many Japanese folks that came to see this tree, and there's a little shrine at the very front. You can see in front of this man taking the picture in the blue shirt. There's a little shrine, and these things are like a spiritual thing, there's a sense of reverence from all these people. They may be taking pictures and posing and stuff, but there's a really spiritual feeling throughout the whole entire area, just because the age of this tree. I mean, it's at least 1,000 years old. Whenever we went to Miharu, Nakata-san took me to a museum where we got to see a painting of this tree that was, 250 years old, and the painting was old, and the tree looked just about as big as it did in this photo and video, even 250 years ago. But I mean, even the stakes and poles that hold up the branches of the tree are just kind of, they let your imagination run wild. They're so tall, and they're not even, the actual tree itself. I think that's so beautiful and so awesome. Now, something I did notice about these large trees, and this rings true with Nakakomoto weeping as well, is that these large trees are usually on a sloped area where, there's not necessarily like a huge grade, but there's enough to cause really good drainage going on. And there's usually, this one was up on kind of, that hill area. So the wind and the airflow of this tree was just kind of perfect. Nakata-san, because he was trying to get a lot of pictures of me and that sort of thing, just taking in the beauty of this tree. And this is probably only about 80% bloomed, guys. So, I mean, this isn't even in its full majesty, which is kind of crazy. Now, something really cool that it just tickled me was the fact that Nakata-san, he was trying to explain to me. He kept saying, 10 generations of plants. That this plant is 10 generations of plant. And we kept walking around. And I couldn't comprehend what he was saying. And then we kind of make our way, around the tree. And he's describing each branch. And he says, this branch is, mother. This branch is grandmother. This branch is daughter and granddaughter. And it still didn't really make sense to me. I was like, what are you, like, it's one giant tree, like how can it be, a multi-generational thing? And then I was asking him if maybe it was cross-pollinating with other trees. But the beauty of cherry trees, and something I never realized, is that sometimes they rot on the inside. And this can happen from cracking. I assume that it happens during the wintertime. I noticed before I went to Japan, I was cutting some cherry trees down, removing some branches, and on some of those Japanese cherry trees, the bark is very thick, the cambium layer is very thick, which holds a lot of water. So during the winter times, that freezes and causes these big giant cracks. And as water penetrates inside of the tree, you start to get breakdown, and mulch starts forming inside of these trees, and then cherry seeds from the plant itself fall into the bark, and they will throw roots all the way down the tree and then self-graft to the tree itself. So what he was talking about is like generations of trees have self-grafted to make this giant, huge 1,000-year-old trees. I mean, there could be 10 to 15 genetically different varieties of cherry trees going on inside of that one tree. Now, I tried to ask about, well, what does that mean for the genetics? Do they spread around? Do they kind of mix together, creating this weird kind of homogenized DNA thing? Are there separate, DNAs that are going on? And I think that those questions were a little past what Google Translate could translate. But I mean, I'd love to hear some comments and theories about what's going on with the genetics in this tree. I'm no cherry tree expert, but I'd definitely love to get some extra information on that. Now, in an earlier photo, you can actually see a maple tree growing out of a cherry tree, which was really awesome. Super, super beautiful. And that was at a castle that we went and visited. But any way you view this tree, it's just so magnificent. I mean, it demands your attention. It demands your reverence. And like I said before, it's a tree that teaches you about nature. It teaches you about life in general. And I think it's so beautiful that so many people from all around the country and all around the world come to pay homage to this. I mean, it's so well kept, and just so much pride is involved in taking care of it. And it's a place of joy, and for families to get together, take some photos, and just really take it all in. Now guys, that was my video about Miharu Takizakura. This amazing tree. There's still tons of videos that are coming out from my Japan trip. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. I mean, it's not something that I really knew a lot about before I went to Japan. I looked up a couple different trees that were in the area, and Nakakomoto weeping shows up, Miharu Takizakura shows up, and then there's one more that's kind of in the same category that I didn't get to go see. But if you're ever in Japan, guys, and you like trees, I'm telling you, it is worth the trip up to Fukushima to Miharu, just to go check this tree out. And if you enjoy this, make sure to drop a like. If you are a first-time viewer, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to help us out, make sure to go shop at MrMaple.com so we can keep making these awesome videos. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to take care, God bless, and have a great day.